The biggest misconception I see with technology strategies in companies from startups to Fortune 50s is they think innovation is sexy. And really, innovation is sustainable. So many companies come to me just absolutely glued to this new hype around an innovative new piece of technology. And don't get me wrong, there is a place for hype, but we need to treat it and see it more like a spark of something. It's not a strategy. Hype is loud, but ROI is quiet. And a good way to understand this is, though I'm not the biggest fan of Gartner because I think their reviews are bought and biased and not truthful to a lot of customers, but I do think that their technology hype cycle gives a good kind of blueprint of how to not get obsessed with one technology or put all your eggs budget in one basket. So this hype cycle starts with what they call an innovation trigger. So this means your CEO went to CES and they saw the hottest new technology on the booth floor. It's being talked about in Forbes, in journal articles, but it's not been piloted a lot or tested, or just the prove it's, the real world use in businesses today is not readily available. Then we get to the inflated expectations. So we're hearing things like this is going to revolutionize the manufacturing floor. It's probably not. Investors and boards are going crazy over it, so you kind of have to put a strategy around it, even though if you're actually on the execution team, you know, this really isn't relevant, but I'm going to spend my time doing it anyway. And then vendors start rebranding all of their existing technology or start acquiring smaller businesses so they can have this capacity, quote unquote, in-house. Then we get a few months, years down the road, and we have the disillusionment that sits in. Implementations are hard, no matter if you have the fairy godmother of implementations right next to you. Integrations are complex. Legacy tech does not just work with everything because you want it to with your hopes and dreams. Projects stall. We start to hear about failures. Investors lose interest, and ROI is just not there. Then we have this thing called the slope of enlightenment. And this can be a very strong slope, or it can be a very, very gradual slope. But we do start to see some use cases where it's actually working. It's actually producing ROI in more of these sophisticated environments. Overall, through iterative implementations, through learnings from these failures, overall the technology improves. And then we reach the plateau of productivity if the technology is still performing, and that just means that it is the standard of a technology strategy in most companies. It's pretty typical to see within their technology stack. And a classic example of where we see this hype curve is blockchain, right? We have that innovation trigger in the late 2010s, 2015, and right around 2016, we are obsessed with Bitcoin and blockchain. It's going to revolutionize everything: healthcare, finance, government, voting, whatever, right? It's going to be in everyone's hands, no matter who you are. 10 years later, did that happen? Do the majority of people even know what blockchain is? No. Do we see some very successful implementations and use cases of blockchain technology? Absolutely. Right? But now our expectations are more grounded in, hey, this has to produce ROI for it to be valuable to our company, which we should have as our mindset to start. And we have a few technologies today that I talk about a lot that are still very much riding this hype curve. Generative AI, we're still very much in the phase that AI can produce all that human workers can produce. I mean, Microsoft just laid off a massive amount of its workforce to put more into their AI investment. You could argue that they're one of the leading technology innovators, or are they going to deeply regret that? We don't know yet. Spatial computing, AR, VR, products like Apple Vision Pro that are very expensive hardware with very limited use cases. Quantum computing, still in the very, very early innovation trigger phase. ROI realization is still probably a decade away for most companies. Autonomous agents, AI agents, agentic AI, whatever you want to call it today, that promises 100% of workflows are automated and you can cut your human labor workforce. Is that actually true? We have no idea. Most companies, I would even argue 8 out of 10, are technically immature to be able to have the function and data to implement something like that. So what you need to remember as business leaders is that it is not a flex to be early if your foundations are not ready. It's not cute. The goal isn't to be first. The goal is still to be profitable when the dust settles. I see it all the time. Do not get intoxicated by the hype. If the pitch sounds too good to be true, it is. And you're smarter than that. You know better than that. In 2025, we're being grounded with our strategy, right? We're embracing innovation through a grounded and sustainable strategy that prioritizes our most important asset, which is our people.